it's Chad from Dwisdom. Today we're going to be talking about email marketing. And for those of you in the know or have spent any time with me, you know that email is your most powerful marketing tool online. And that can be for any business, that can be for your church, your ministry, or maybe just personal use. But having the ability to send things to people who have actively opted in to something you want to send them is pretty powerful. Now, let me go ahead and say this first, because when we talk about email marketing, anti-spam laws require you to let people know how they opted in to your email correspondence, whether that be a newsletter or maybe some regular updates of some kind, or maybe it's tips and tools, but very, very powerful. It's just important to let people know how they opted in each and every email. Now, my email marketing provider of choice is MailChimp.com. You may have heard of MailChimp. It's one of the big 3 or 4 email marketing programs out there. The reason I like MailChimp, I will show you right now. Let's click on pricing. And for entrepreneurs, people who have up to 2,000 subscribers, which is a pretty good number, but at the beginning, or those of us without marketing budgets may not have that many, you get to send 12,000 emails to up to 2,000 subscribers for free. No contracts and no credit card required. It's free forever, and you have branding options inside of this free opportunity. Now, you can grow into some other things. There's some upgrades. For example, in the entrepreneur section, you can upgrade for $10 a month if there's some other things you want to do. And you can see that MailChimp goes way up to people with giant lists. They can help just about anybody. But I love MailChimp because of the pricing and also the functionality, and they continue to make improvements in that regard. So you would click on sign up for free, answer the questions. You will have to activate your MailChimp account. You'll receive an email at the email address you use when you sign up. But once you're activated, you're off and running. And I have gone through and set up a brand new account, and it's on this tab right here. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of different things. This will be part 1 of our email marketing how-to for people with little to no marketing budget. There's a lot of different things. So let's start with some terminology, shall we? A campaign is an individual email that you send out to your email list, right? So when we use the word campaign, we're talking about sending to your existing list a single email, right? Now, there's other things we can do with that word campaign, but let's leave it there for just a moment. When we talk about a list, that's simply the group of people who have opted in either online via your website or some kind of integration form that I'll teach you how to use here in MailChimp, and there are others, or who maybe have opted in manually at an event or an activity where you had a list sign up for our email newsletter or something similar. Okay, so that's what a list is. It's simply a group of people who have opted in and subscribed to what you want to send them. There are some other things. We can create sign-up forms. Those are the things that appear on people's websites that say opt in here or subscribe here or join the Dwisdom community, and you enter your email address at minimum. I also like to get first names, and I'll show you why in a later video. And you can also have multiple users collaborating together to build campaigns, to manage lists. And there's also analytics in here in MailChimp, and we'll talk about that at a later time too. I do highly recommend, though, once you get signed in, at the very bottom of the very first page, you'll see it's a guide to getting started with MailChimp. Read our guide online or download the EPUB or PDF for reading on your tablet. I highly recommend that you download that. And there's a hyperlink here. You can right-click, obviously, and save the link as, or just click on it and it'll pull it into downloads. This works both on PCs and on Macs. Okay. So anyway, we're here. That's campaigns. We've talked about that. Let's click on the templates for just a moment. And we're going to be talking more about templates in just a moment as well. There are templates that can be saved. For example, if you put together a format that you really like, you should save that as a template. You can also create one here, and we'll do that momentarily. File Manager is simply uploading files that you want to link inside of your emails. We'll talk about that too. Lists, as we talked about, are simply the groups of people who have opted in to what you want to send them. And really, MailChimp says it well. They're just where you store your contacts. We call them subscribers. You can create one list, and then you can segment them and group them, and we'll talk about that in a later video as well. But let's do something here. Let's create a list. Suppose you've been sending emails via Gmail or Yahoo or maybe even Hotmail or maybe through your company mail, and you've got this significant contact list and you want to import it into an email marketing program for a couple of reasons. One, you can't really schedule things to send later in most of the email programs that I just mentioned. You can do that in here. You can send it at the times when they're most likely to be read, and I'll put some links and different things on our membership site. But you can also import the contacts from that list, and I'll show you how to do that momentarily. You can also get notifications of who has subscribed and unsubscribed, one-on-one as they happen, or unsubscribes as well, just in case you want to remarket to people who have unsubscribed. You can't spam them, but there are different opportunities for people who have left your email list for a variety of reasons. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a list, shall we? Let's call this list our test list. They don't see it. You can see here on the screen. Your subscribers will see this, so make it something appropriate. A good example, and they use Acme Company Newsletter. The default from email is who these are coming from. Minimize that for a second. We want this to be chad@dwisdom.com. The default from name, you want, and it gives you great tips here. This is who your emails will come from. Use something they'll instantly recognize, like your company name. So I'm going to go ahead and add Wisdom Marketing and Business Solutions. And then write a reminder on how people got on your list. For example, you are receiving this email because you opted in at our website, or we send special offers to customers who opted in at blank blank. So I'm going to tell people you are receiving this email because you opted in at our website or in person. And that'll appear in every single campaign, as we mentioned, that you send out. Daily summary, I want to know when people have subscribed and unsubscribed, and I'm going to click save. Now, as we go through these videos, I'm just getting into the nuts and bolts of it. I will mention some terms that as you go along, you will see I'll pop up definitions for in case I forget to mention it during the course of our broadcast here, like copywriting, for example. Not the R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G copywriting, but the W-R-I-T-I-N-G, simply meaning the development of content for people to consume. And copywriting is a science, and we're going to mention that a bit, or maybe it's an art form. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but there's a skill to it that can be developed. And so we're talking about adding subscribers. Here you'll see you have options to import subscribers. For example, if you have a Gmail account, you can export your list into a CSV file, which is a format you can get in Excel or in Google spreadsheets. But it's simply a listing format, and you can import subscribers into MailChimp that way, or you can set up a sign-up form to get the ball rolling. You can see also that you can manage subscribers here. You can add subscribers individually, and we'll create sign-up forms in just a minute. But for this video, we're just going to talk about the basics of what email marketing is, and primarily through MailChimp, which is our low-cost and sometimes no-cost way to stay in touch with our subscribers. All right, so let's add a subscriber here. I'm just going to do this manually. You can follow the instructions to import a list. I would just say have it in CSV format, which is a comma delimited format that you can create in any spreadsheet program. I use Excel. Some people use Google Spreadsheets. And again, they'll walk you through that. So the email address of the person that's opting in, and I'm going to blur this out, but it's going to be at a different email address. That's me. And then it's really important to check the box here that says this person gave me permission to be added to my list. This person will not receive a confirmation email from MailChimp. Since you're adding this recipient manually, they won't have an opt-in IP address or date in your records, so be extra sure you have permission first. And if you click the more link here, it will explain that in greater detail. If this person is already on my list, update their profile. For example, if somebody has changed companies and they have a new email address, you can update it here. We're going to go ahead and click subscribe since this person gave me permission, because that person's me. And you can see our test list now has one subscriber. Let's click on that number 1 there. That subscriber, as you can see, is me. Okay, and you can do this manually. For example, if your mom is going to give you permission to put her on your list, put her on your list this way. You can also import subscribers, but be very careful with that. Again, click the link we mentioned on the previous screen. If for whatever reason you give things to people who don't want to be on your list, they can report you. Yeah, they can report you to the spam police. But you want to be very careful that people have given you a yes before you add them manually. If you have a list you're importing from another program, or perhaps, as I said earlier, you're keeping your email correspondence with Gmail or Yahoo Mail or one of those. Or maybe it's another email marketing program and you just want a lower cost option. That's where you can import that list of people who said, yes, sir, it is okay, or yes, ma'am, it is okay that you add me to your list. Over here under sign up forms, and I'm going to show you how to develop these later. But if you click on that, there's a few different options that we'll explain when it's time. There is a general form, which works really well with WordPress plugins, and they will walk you through that, some of those plugins, and we'll talk about that at another time. Embedded forms are ones that you can create and sort of manage the look of for integration into your website. It'll create an HTML code for you based on what you want in there and how you want it to look. And depending on what kind of website you do, it will sometimes adapt to the design elements of your website. Subscriber pop-up is just what it sounds like. It will pop up after a certain amount of time. It is embedded with code as well. If you don't do your own website, make sure you talk to the person who does, and they'll know exactly what to do with it. And there are some integrations. MailChimp partners with other people. And I should mention this down here for you can add a sign-up form to your Facebook page. Just know that it creates a separate tab than the main notifications part of your Facebook page, so you would have to publicize it that way, but it's handy for some people. And there's also a tablet form if you've got an event. They've got a couple of integrations they have created proprietarily, including Chimpity-Doo for tablets. It's kind of a fun word to say, Chimpity-Doo. All right, let's go to settings. There are list name and defaults. Let's take a look at this real quick. Remember, this is all the stuff we set up earlier. You can also choose a couple of options over here too. You can send a find a welcome email when people opt into your list. That will show up under forms when we get to that point. Let users pick plain text or HTML emails. That's just a format. Some people prefer plain text, but by and large, most people will take HTML. So I don't actually click that. Send unsubscribe confirmations to subscribers. Yes, we want to send them a final goodbye email, and we'll explain that at another time too. When we're creating campaigns, we have the ability to define our subject line, so I just leave this open. It also reminds you again, keep it relevant and non-spammy. When you get new subscriber notifications, if you remember back a couple of screens, I want a daily summary. Some people like to get them as they come in. They're a bit of a reward, kind of like Pavlov's dog. They get a reward when they do something. You may want that. The list ID shows up under settings, and that would be important if you were using a WordPress integration or another website development integration. That's a little bit above the pay grade of what we're talking about today, but I'll be sure to put some videos together for that as well at a later date. Under settings, let's go look at publicity settings. What are publicity settings? Well, yes, my campaigns are public and I want them discovered, or no, my campaigns for this list are not public. That means they won't be indexed by search engines for sure, but it's very difficult to forward a private campaign. Archive bar, activate the archive bar for this list. With archive bar, your subscribers will be able to post Facebook comments and likes, post a link to your campaign on Twitter, subscribe to your list if the email was forwarded to them, view your past email campaigns, and translate the email using Google Translate. Yes, you want all of those things. Since I didn't change anything, there's no need for me to save publicity settings. But if for some reason you did change something here, that's where you would save it. List fields and merge tags are something we'll talk about in another email as well, or another video rather. But merge tags are really, really handy. Remember me saying I like to collect the first name because it allows me to personalize things. Well, this is where this will come in handy. And just make a note, we're going to use merge tags in a later video when we develop our first campaign. Under settings, required email footer content, we mentioned this earlier. You are receiving this email because you opted in at our website or in person. Remember, I had typed that in earlier to prevent false spam reports. It's best to briefly remind your recipients how they got on your list in every single campaign. We'll automatically place this in your MailChimp templates whenever you see it. List description, about, permission reminders. You can click on that if you're interested. And there's more. International spam law requires that all marketing emails include your physical mailing address and your contact info, so keep that in mind. We'll automatically place this information into the footer of any MailChimp templates you choose. We'll also use this information if someone reports your campaign as spam to our abuse desk, so learn more about the terms of use and the can't spam rules for campaigns. How can recipients contact you? Remember, we entered some information on the contact form earlier. Well, this is where you put that information. Website URL, I've got my website URL there. Where did people opt into this list? If you made any changes, click Save. Email Beamer, what is that? Well, you have the opportunity with MailChimp to email what you want to put into a campaign to an email address. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, listen to this. I'll just read it. Every list you create in MailChimp gets its own special email address. Send to this private email address from your favorite email client, and we'll save those emails as draft campaigns in your account. From there, you can send the campaign to your MailChimp list. So why is this important? Well, you want to add it to your address book. Let's say you're in the airport one day and don't have access to your MailChimp, or you're on your phone and you don't want to use up too much data, so you'll send a quick email that you can draft instead of being on MailChimp for an extended period of time. Well, once you type that thing offline, go online for a second, save this email address in your address book, and you can put together an email campaign that automatically gets saved as a draft. It doesn't send it until you confirm that you're ready to send it, and we'll do that sometime. But what a handy thing. So save this email address to your contact book or to your address book. Okay? Pretty handy. Settings, Google Analytics on archive list pages. So google.com/analytics, if you have a Google ID, will allow you to set up analytics tracking for your emails. Now, there is some reporting inside of the campaigns here, and we're going to look at that in just a second. If you want to go a little deeper and see how long people are on certain pages, where if there was a bounce rate, which means they left the first page or left the site after your first page, left your email after a certain amount of time. Those things are important to know the deeper you get into this. I would go ahead and set it up. So go to google.com/analytics. You have to have a Google account, and it will walk you through the steps of getting a tracking ID. Okay? And that's where you'll enter that right here and click Save. We'll do that here later. Last thing under settings is webhooks. It's kind of a complex issue, and of course it tells me here that I haven't created one, which makes sense since I just created it. But there is webhook documentation. It helps you keep your mailing list synced with a local list on your server. So if you want to back up your list and don't want to leave this stuff on the internet with MailChimp servers, it'll send an update to your application with the new information. If you want to complete the loop and send updates from your app to MailChimp, use our full-featured API. If you create apps or you create different activities, or you just maintain a local list on your server or your PC, a webhook will help you keep those things synchronized at all times. Again, it's a bit of a complicated subject, but it's available to you. Let's click on reports. We obviously won't have any since we haven't created anything yet, but there's a lot of different things we can do with this report. It will tell you how many people have opened the email. Good open rates can be investigated and researched, but pretty good open rates get into the 30 and 40% range. If you're getting more than that, you're putting together extraordinary content. And I'm going to pop up what content means. We're going through the nuts and bolts of how to set up an email campaign, and we're going to get into how to utilize them in an effective way in a later video. But it's really important that you send information that wants to be read. Now, that includes good headlines. That's a copywriting thing, writing a headline that just begs to be opened. How long they stayed on your site. Do you have links in there to reputable sources? Those are all really important for search engine indexing, but it's also really important to develop some credibility with the people who are receiving your information. If you had promised them certain information as a precursor to them opting in to your email list, then you need to deliver on that promise. If you're giving them stuff they don't really care about, and it's not related to why you had them opt into your email list, you're going to lose them quickly. You want to continue to deliver really great content on a consistent basis. All right, so we'll have reports to look at after we send our first campaign, but it tells you a lot of really great information, what people clicked on, what links they clicked on, how many people opened it, if they forwarded it. There's a lot of really good information there. Automation. No automation emails have been sent. That's a whole other section up here. That's essentially drip content. That's sending things out at different times once they've opted into a list or a segment on your list. Let's say you've put together an email course and you want it to go out over the course of 7 days. You can set that up in MailChimp and tell each email when it needs to be sent following the immediately preceding one. If it needs to be in 3 days or 7 days or maybe the day after, you can automate a lot of stuff here. You don't have to be as manually involved in your email marketing when you make those promises of automation. And inbox inspections, you've never created an inbox inspection, but you can do that. Okay, those are the nuts and bolts of how to set up MailChimp. Now, we're going to get into the email marketing piece in the next video, but until that time, if you have any questions, please email me Chad@dwisdom, DWYSDOM.com. Find me on social media. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm at facebook.com/dwisdom, twitter.com/dwisdom, or my personal one is twitter.com/ChadNelson34. I respond in either place. I'm on Instagram and a bunch of other places too. Thanks so much for watching this video. I can't wait to talk more about content and copywriting and drip programs and campaigns. There's so much to know about email marketing, and we're going to get into that in the next video. This is Chad with Dwisdom. Have a great day.